There we go. We live. We live now. Or let me drop this fucking link where it needs to go. And see who decides to join us. If anyone. God, my hand. Ugh. Swear to God. Every time I fucking go. Like, my hand's always up against my face anytime I fucking. The thumbnail shows up for my. When I go live. Like, the thumbnail always has me with my hand like this. Like this every fucking time. It drives me insane. Like, I don't mean to do it. I don't know how the timing's set up for that. But it seems to goddamn happen every fucking time. So every thumbnail's like this. Everyone, it looks like it's the same picture half the time. Um, alright, let's just drop this on the... Dang, I didn't even ping anybody. I'm surprised you caught me. You just saw it pop up? You're just sitting there waiting all day for me to pop in, or what? Is that what you do, Minomo?
Uh,
You just sit there
well,
all
you
day?
told me you were gonna stream,
Nah, I didn't
so
tell you that. That's bullshit. I didn't tell you. Who told you that?
you did.
You're a creep, dude. Anyway. Alright, let me tell everybody what I'm doing here. Send now. Sent. Cool. See what kind of fun we can have today. Are you in the book club thing or no?
Uh, yeah, but I haven't read the book. I don't know if I actually will get around to it.
Oh, I don't care. I'm halfway done with it.
How is it?
It's fucking awesome. Personally, I don't want to give detail because people are probably still reading it. Either or
Okay.
none, but it's just cool. Like I didn't expect it to go the route it did. Like I didn't know much about it. Um, it's kind of like a mix of like I don't know, like a lot of symbolism and philosophical conversation, sort of via the story about like life and death, but with like very strong horror elements that I wasn't expecting to get as like horror as it is. Um, it's kind of it's definitely got those kind of eldritch horror kind of feel to it. I didn't expect it to though, like at all. Like when I was looking through the books for the book club, I was just like, okay. I was looking through lists of I guess like lists of like 200 strange fiction books or stray odd books or whatever. And I was like, okay. So I was going through like the more modern stuff and some of the older stuff, and I was like, okay, like what's this? And I would read all like the synopses, but not not the main story, just kind of like the introduction. And I'd be like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Like that sounds awesome. And in the description, hi there, E-Man. In the description for The Fisherman, it said that it was like a strange book with different stories that all tied together into a strange novel, and blah blah blah. Like, and I was like, this sounds kind of cool. And it just had some brief like references of like what kind of stuff's in it. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a weird fucking book. I'm gonna read that. And I'm like halfway through it, and I'm like, oh, like this is like a horror novel, but it's written in a really unconventional way. And what I like about it is that the most the creepiest parts about the book are not the conventional horror elements. Like what would be conventionally the horror aspect of it, like the whether the things and characters involved and everything are not what's scary or disturbing, in my opinion. It's just it's the way that the author describes it and the way that the author humanizes it in a really kind of gripping way. And so it's pretty cool. It's a good book. I was like, it's fucking awesome. Like that's right up my alley. Like some of the not just some of the the spooky shit or whatever, which is awesome always, but the narration, like the narrator and the way things are being described and stuff, like it's just like whoa. Like some of these descriptors, some of these choice of words and kind of subjects you're kind of that it kind of delves into are heavy and interesting in a way that I relate to, which is saying a lot because Zoid. So there's a couple of parts in there that I was like, that's cool. I've had that thought, or I've had thoughts like that regarding it, and I've been disturbed by imagery in my head or thoughts about some of the things that are being described in the book. So it's doing a pretty awesome job. I would recommend it if you ever have the time, Nenoma. Especially since you like spooky shit too anyway. No response from Nenoma. Got it. All right. So he probably fell asleep.
Books are a commitment for me. They just I don't know.
I'm not saying read it, dude. I'm just saying it's a good fucking book. It's good.
Oh right, wait, audiobooks exist. Okay, maybe I'll.
Oh yeah, there's an audiobook of it, so you can totally just listen to it.
Oh thank God.
I think it would do a really good job if they have a good reader. Yeah, it could be just as effective. But yeah, man, this is a solid, cool book. I'm enjoying the shit out of it. I'm actually very excited as excited as I get about sometime next month, early next month, like getting together with some of the people that did read it and seeing chat, talk about it and stuff. It's good shit. I already got 5 peeps on here. Hey, what's up, guys? Let's see if anybody responded yet on that thing. Usually I like to have like 1, maybe 2 people jump on, or at least one other person jump on. Somebody usually does. If they don't, I'll just go on ahead. It's not a big deal, but I want to see if anybody messaged me or told me they're gonna hop on. Maybe not. I did add everyone. Well, usually takes a few minutes. But yeah. There is one thing I could talk to you about, which was what I said we should talk about, which is Lotganut. Let's talk about that, Mo.
Okay, I'll try my best in my tired state. My brain just like fries after I take
too many Quaaludes.
Melatonin. What?
No, yeah, the melatonin and what else?
Just like a melatonin. Oh God, I can't speak. A melatonin pill.
Man, are you gonna fall asleep on me?
No, but
I mean, if you do, I won't
I'm
care.
sleepy.
It's all good, dude. We're all sleepy all the time. We all want that ultimate sleep, the perma sleep. But so yeah, I kind of fucked up by announcing him, or they, or whatever. I don't know what the fuck this guy is.
Dude, you can literally just call them whatever. I personally just use like androgynous pronouns because I feel like that fits them best.
Yeah.
But
fuck it, whatever. Whatever you want. You want to say he, her, fucking
yeah, literally.
whatever.
I
fuck
designed
it.
them that way, so
yeah, fuck it. You want a big old schlong on him? Sure, why not? Why not? But anyway, or Barbie doll flatness. But yeah, I fucked up and kind of said, "Oh, here's," because I put them on everything already based on the stuff you giving me. I got them on like one piece of art on my Patreon and and then like the channel page and on the Discord, and now you gave me this banner, so I got a banner now. And then I'm like,
there wasn't exactly any like coherent plan. We were just kind of like, fuck
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. And then, like, well, the cool thing is the blank one you gave me fits really nicely on here as a background. So that part's awesome because, like, this whole left side is kind of mostly empty. And so then I could just put him on the right, chilling right there, and then I could have the chat going up. But I just got to figure out how to do a better job of the chat so that it's transparent. It doesn't look like it's even showing up, is it?
Yeah, I don't see it.
It's fucking weird. See, I don't understand. Like I have it as the in front of everything. Like I have it as the top thing in front of everything. So I don't understand how it's not showing up, which is highly confusing to me. Yeah, like no matter what I fucking do, like yeah, source, yes, widgets, yeah, should be done. But then sometimes it does pop up. So you got me. Yeah, and so then I got excited and I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. Like I gotta show this character to everybody. And yeah, there you go. That's how we ended up with that. Were you annoyed that I did that?
No.
Okay. Sounded like you could have been. I wasn't entirely sure.
I just thought it was funny, honestly.
Come on, we're supposed to start drama, Ninomo. What the fuck? You're supposed to be like super upset so that way we can fight on stream about it. You're a terrible co-host. What I like is you're actually pretty good. Like personality wise, you're pretty good. I like your company for this stuff because you're so non-abrasive and like chill, and kind of indifferent, like about like this very thing that like I don't know. I feel like there's no like we're not trying to. Nobody's trying to like how to put this. If I get overexcited, and then if somebody else would get to go overexcited next to me, I might get even more overexcited. But because I get kind of excited about saying something or think something's funny, and then your response is like very, then it kind of cancels it out, and so I don't get annoying. I don't get as obnoxious. You help balance out my level of being obnoxious on the stream. It's useful. Think about that. So you want to elaborate at all on the character? Because Ninomo here created a lot here. So every variation has been drawn by Ninomo. Would you like to speak on what inspired you to create Lotkanu? The way he looks.
Well, my idea for them was for an appearance that would hopefully resonate with a lot of Zoids or avoidance, just the general hermit type,
Mm-hmm.
So I figured something with a cloak and a ragged look.
Definitely a hood.
Since we're usually very tired.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to just go with the vibes of, I guess, like Schizoid personified. I mean, that's the whole idea of them. I can't really explain it well, man. But
I get it.
yeah.
I get it. Like, I mean, for me personally, the aesthetic is just pleasing to my eye. But that's the one thing I was a little bit like not concerned with, but I was like, I love this. Like, I love the aesthetic. I like the hands, I like the hood. I like the kind of dark fantasy kind of horror element it has. But at the same time, like I was like, like, are other people that aren't into these sort of aesthetic, or are they just going to be like, hey, that's not. I wanted a guy that's sitting on the beach, with a beer can and smoking cigarettes.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, but
you could do that. It's not like they can't have variants.
That's what I was thinking. What was funny is the character, even though he's like spooky and shit looking, you could probably get him to do any kind of silly shit if other people were to use them to draw them for anything. So you could probably have him like smoking cigars, his Legos on a desk, with like bitches all over him.
I
Or
mean, pretty much like if you just take off his whole outfit, they're just
be like
they're just like black mist. So
it doesn't matter. Like it's just it's like in a like you said an androgynous sort of entity, right? With like
yeah,
no
and in one of the concept sketches I did, I remember writing a note that like underneath the hood they could have any appearance. It's just the face is always obscured by the black mist.
yeah, and that's why they have the use for the mask to
Yeah.
kind of convey uh, either attempted emotions or false ones, just like us. So yeah, no, I dig it. I dig it quite a bit. All right, so I don't see anybody else hopping on, so I'm probably gonna just get started on this shit. I know you said that you had to jump off in a little bit. I'll fucking wing it. Wing it life. Hold on. Let me do something here because it's kind of killing me. 1 second. There's always those little things that bother you. For me, it's not having any kind of background music. It fucking kills me. It just gets so fucking quiet and boring.
I actually prefer like podcast type streams without any music.
Yeah, well,
Like if I'm listening to them.
I don't. Why?
Because it makes it harder for me to focus on the voices.
Does it?
Especially if it's atmospheric music. It just makes me zone out.
That's interesting. I don't know. It actually lets me focus on the conversation a lot better.
If it's really low,
Mhm.
then I can do that too. But generally, if it's not at a very low volume, it just gets in the way.
Interesting. Trying to see what kind of options I have here. I think this one might be good. I don't know. Actually, I should do like a poll or something on that. I just don't like what's the word? I don't know. It just bugs me
The
because I feel like I
silence.
could. It's not the silence. It's not the silence. You know what it is? It's the sound of my own thoughts being too loud.
Hmm.
Like I feel like it's like my own thoughts, the volume of my thoughts, like almost drowns out my thinking at times. And when there's some kind of background music or something, it like lets me kind of tune some of that out, like or lower the volume, kind of even keels it, and then I can kind of focus on the auditory stuff occurring around me, like people talking or the background music, than my own the volume of my own thoughts.
My
So,
problem often is that like my brain freezes, like all my thoughts just disappear from my head when I'm talking. Even like the train of thought,
mhm.
like literally as I'm saying something, and so I just sit there like, I forgot what to say.
That's the one thing I find really amusing too is that like Zoids tend to be very very specific, very unique in their quirks, in their like there's a lot of varying similarities, but the eccentricities are all there. Like most of us are so incredibly strange and eccentric in a variety of fashions.
Oh, and then
Um,
the other part of it is that when someone else is talking, if they talk for too long,
mm,
I'll just start like listening to my own thoughts and zoning out.
yeah, that's you do that to me all the time. It's hilarious. Like you always tell me like when I go
You
on a
talk for too fucking long in like one topic. I just Maybe it's my attention span. I
I think
don't
it's your
know.
attention span, man, because I think most people are cool with it. I'm guessing because like they'll stay on the fucking stream for like 2 hours straight.
It's less of an issue for me if I'm not on stream talking. Like if I'm just lurking, then I can hold on to what you're talking about
That's weird. What is the difference? If you're just sitting there quietly lurking on stream, how is it any different than if you're listening to it?
because I'm preparing answers. I have to think about answers. I can't just lurk there and not have to think. Just listen.
So the act of having to think for answers makes you shut down?
It's like there's too much going on. I have to
I just love
think
that
of
you
answers.
talk for too fucking long about the same thing. I mean, that's kind of what I do, man. That's kind of my whole shtick. Like, what do you want from me? That's kind of literally my whole shtick. Like, I can't really fix that one, Mo. I'm sorry. That's not that's nothing.
It's
That's nothing I'm gonna be able to repair there, bud.
it's no worries, man. It's really just a me
It's
thing.
just the your entire function, the entire manner in which you seem to exist and communicate with others, it's just troublesome to me. I find it really boring, and I tend to shut down pretty quickly. That's so awesome. Fuck it. Yet you still fucking deal with my ass for whatever reason. Boring as I may be to you, or others maybe. Hey, does anybody else out there listening feel like that? Like, tell me, be honest with me. Like, do I just fucking drone on and on? Is it a problem? Because I have people that really like that I drone on and on. And I try my best not to repeat myself. Generally, I take it to different directions, or I get more nuanced in a variety of ways, or I like thinking of different examples and, so on and so forth. But um, do I stick to the same subject for far too long? Because I feel like I gravitate toward whatever's popping into my fucking head at any given
May-
point. Like I don't really stay on the same subject sometimes. Oftentimes within the 10-minute span, I'll jump into like 2 or 3 different subjects.
Maybe I phrased it weird.
Mm.
I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but I think it's when you lose the point. Or well, you don't quite lose it. You're still talking about it, but you elaborate further on the point, and so I'm trying to hold on to the initial point you made, and then as you keep going on,
So
I get lost.
so what you're saying from what you're saying, I think you're just saying that you're dumb.
I mean, pretty much.
No, you're not dumb. No, it might be an attention span thing, maybe, but it also could be the fact that I'm just incredibly boring to listen to. So, I mean, there's that possibility.
If you weren't interesting or entertaining to listen to, I wouldn't be here. So it's not
Wow.
that.
I mean, you're just in it for the faps, so I already know that. It's the ASMR, right? The erotic ASMR. That's all you're here for. Don't pretend. Isn't it? It's anything else. All right. So, see here. Yehis, I'm normal. Why is it so fucking funny to me whenever somebody puts "I'm normal"? That's hilarious, man. I am normal. I zone out easily. Steven Thacker. I used to have to think about what to say when having conversations, but I think I used to care too much about their response to what I'd say, but now I don't care. I mean, is it because you give a shit about how people respond to what you say, Nino Mo, or is it just you want to look like a silly person? Like, what is it?
Maybe like slightly when I'm anxious, but majority of the time, no, I don't care.
Yeah, I kind
It's
of
just
figured.
it's just the attention span, I think.
I think it's more that than giving a shit about, you know. No, but maybe it's more the trouble of having to retain information that's being given to you by a source that might not necessarily be interesting you to the level that you wish they did at that given point, and then retaining that information and as well produce having the energy to produce an answer in response to whatever they're talking about when you rather not produce one at all, right? Is it maybe more that?
Maybe.
Maybe. It's like, you're like, that just happened right now, literally. That literally just happened. Like, that question you just asked me literally caused the very thing that you just described to happen.
I think it's a mix of the attention span and the fact that I have to like micromanage listening to you, coming up with an answer, and then just like sorting out your entire fucking monologue in my brain and trying to understand it in the middle of doing all that. And probably something else, like I'm probably playing a game in the moment.
Interestingly, you do a pretty, fairly good job of all that. So, um, it's so good job. Whatever.
Okay,
Exactly.
thanks.
Yeah. Steven Thacker, could have been motivation. I've always had low motivation. Also, I do zone out with my own thoughts. Yeah, I do it all the time. I get it. All right, let me get started on this bullshit. All right. So, first one 1 hour ago, posted by both/AD_3138. Schizoid characters in books, movies, and TV shows. Have you met schizoid characters in books, movies, and TV shows? I am reminded of Shirley Jackson's books. I am a writer and schizoid. I think that my character from the mystical book must be a schizoid. At first, I wanted to make Olivia the main character. Okay, who's Olivia? Then I came up with a male detective who would conduct the investigation. There, the plot is tied to dreams that penetrate into reality and vice versa. I even came up with a separate book about this detective, and it seems to me that I have left the original plan. I only have a couple of chapters about pro grandma Olivia so far. Pro grandma Olivia? I just like, this is so confusing. I just have to go back to the original plan and postpone the prequel and sidequel. You haven't even told me what the fucking story is.
I was listening to this and I'm just like, what the fuck is...
Well, apparently they have a prequel set up and a sidequel for the future. Otherwise, I will write this forever. I just had to share with someone. If you're interested, I can tell you more about my upcoming book. What the fuck? Is anyone familiar with Shirley Jackson books? Like, what is a Shirley Jackson book?
I don't know, I'm looking it up.
Oh yeah, look it up for me. What's Shirley Jackson? What is Shirley Jackson books? Because apparently that's the closest we're gonna get to knowing what the fuck they're talking about pro grandma Olivia. I like that.
Shirley Jackson was a... God damn it, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Shirley Jackson was a horror and mystery writer.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, there we go. Thank you for that nuanced description of what it is.
I literally just read a description of this site.
No, it's just funny. It's like so basic though. It was funny. It's just like they are an author. They write books with letters. It's like, oh, well, yeah. I guess I would be reminded. Most books remind me of Shirley Jackson's books because most of them have letters and have an author involved. So yeah, I would say that I would agree with that statement. But yeah, I can't figure out what it is this person is trying to say about their book at all, except for that they're having trouble keeping track of the original plot that they wrote and keep wanting to do side plots for a book they have yet to describe or probably cohesively construct. Let's see their responses. Please do tell. I'd be interested to know. Shameless plug alert. I wrote a story with a schizoid character. If you like science fiction, you can read it. I've never actually read any of these, like, because I've seen a few schizoids and like people mention that they've created like art or stories with characters that are schizoid, but I find it very confusing when they say that because like unless the character is struggling with a lack of self identity and social and emotional disconnect on top of that, not just social and emotional disconnect, but like a lack of identity or self understanding, in some pure form, then I don't know what they mean when they say that. Like, what is a schizoid character? I can give you a description of characters that I feel are schizoid for a variety of reasons or have traits, but I can't really like what do you think, Nina? What do you think a schizoid character would be like? It's an example, or even if someone were to write or create one, what would they be like? Like in a say a science fiction setting.
Um,
Hmm? Oh, I don't know. Wow, did you say something? No.
I don't know, man. I
It's fine.
guess
You're
like
tired. You're tired. You're tired. I'll... See. That's the thing. I'm trying to put it on you so you can say shit, so I don't talk too long. And now you fucking you don't have shit to say. Of
well,
course.
I'm trying to find a character that I like that might have traits, but kind of forget them too.
Yeah.
Uh oh wait, hmm.
Steven said depends whether it is overt or covert schizoid. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I definitely fall under the covert. At least most of my life, for sure. Um, but I mean, because I've only been able to come across like one fictional character or two that like have like I've come across actually quite a few that have traits, but the only character I've seen in like modern media that I would say is absolutely schizoid is that the knight, the Goblin Slayer in Goblin Slayer. Like that guy has got me convinced 100% that like whoever authored him was like, hey, what if we made a character that's schizoid? Like and in the most pure way. Because at least so far, because I've only seen the first season. I never got into the manga much. I've read a few of the books, but I saw the first season of the show, and I'm like, this guy is insanely relatable. I don't know if you guys have watched it, but it's funny. I wasn't even interested in the plot of the show. Like, I didn't care. They go on adventures, they kill goblins, whatever. I was more interested in the character development of the Goblin Slayer. Like, that was fascinating to me because like he literally has like no sense of personality, no sense of self, no understanding of why he even does half the shit he does, and he has like these ethics and principles that he lives by, but without any kind of personality to tie it to or any kind of social reasons. As zero social motivations. Zero social motive. I liked the beginning of Goblin Slayer, but I didn't like as it went on. I liked the way it went because I was interested, like I said, like, yeah, the cool action. Oh man, he's so badass. He just kills fucking goblins all mercilessly or whatever. I watched the first season, read some of the manga. Like, that stuff's cool and all. Like, you know, people started comparing him to Doomslayer from Doom, right? Because he's just so badass, just killing shit, and they play cool music. But as cool as all that stuff is, like, the way he reacts to violent situations, the way he reacts to social situations, the way he is more troubled by social situations than being in a cave full of like man-eating, you know, woman-raping goblins. Like he knows what to do. Like that's what's interesting about uh what's that one anime where that person rides a bike and sees shit? I can't remember. But what I like about it is that he knows Jern. Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one. But what I like about the character is that, yeah, like he knows what to do when you put him in a place that's really dangerous. He knows how to adapt to it. He knows how to survive. He knows how to save people. He knows how to do all kinds of combat-related, survival-related shit, right? But he seems incredibly awkward and confused whenever you put him in a social situation. And he seems to actively avoid them because he doesn't see a need for them or any reason associated to them that would help him in his goal of killing more goblins. And if it's not about killing goblins, he doesn't seem interested at all in continuing down that conversation or that route. And the only reason he starts to develop kind of even the most rudimentary forms of social connections is because one character in particular, the priestess, keeps tagging along and over and over. And, you know, he finds her skills initially like pretty useful. It's handy because she can heal people and, you know, shit like that. And she keeps insisting, like, I want to go with you. I want to go with you because she senses in him that there's something special about this dude, something interesting about him, something to kind of look up to in some respect. And even though he treats her like he doesn't treat her like shit, he just treats her like, hey, this is your life, I guess. Like, you want to come along and die, that's on you, but it's up to you, whatever. Like, if she wants to come, cool. If she doesn't, then whatever. Don't then. Like, I don't need you to be there. He's gonna do whatever he's gonna do regardless. And he doesn't have hobbies really. His hobby is killing goblins. And he doesn't talk about his life. He doesn't when he goes to the guild or whatever, and people are having drinks and there's a bar or whatever, all this shit. He just goes there, you know, submits his tickets for, like, you know, quests or whatever that he completed, gets his money, leaves. When he goes home, he stays at this like old farmer's house with his like daughter, who has, of course, like the biggest tits imaginable. And what's funny is that he's like zero interested in her, like in a sexual or romantic capacity, like at all. Like he's not trying to do nothing. He just goes home, he eats dinner, whatever dinner they give him, he eats it. He doesn't talk about it. Goes to sleep, wakes up next day, tracks goblins, kills more goblins, takes quests, kills more goblins. He just grinds killing goblins. And it's funny because he's gotten to a point where he's like a certain tier, like silver or something, which generally you wouldn't get to that point just going around killing goblins. Like he could go do like bigger stuff, like work his way up to the higher tiers, but he doesn't. He has like no ambition and zero motivation to actually like move up in the guild or move up in the social tiers of the world that he inhabits. And all he wants to do is kill goblins. And he has trauma associated to killing goblins. But whenever in goblin killing, because his entire family got killed by goblins and his sister got raped and he watched it happen, it's all this fucked up shit, right? So he's like, he's essentially a Zoid because like he had this fucked up trauma. When they show that when he underwent the trauma as a child, he was crying. Obviously, he was like disturbed by it all, and it killed something in him, right? And then he was trained by this weird kind of half human, half goblin amalgamation that taught him how to fucking kill goblins and how he needed to do this shit or whatever. This new weird kind of patriarchal mentor or something. They haven't really gotten into very much in the anime. And that's the thing. You don't know shit about his life because he doesn't talk about it. And he's only talked about the trauma to the one girl that he's like kind of cool with talking. And by the end of the show, he's barely connecting. Like, it's the whole season and he's barely developing the ability to tell this girl, hey, you kind of matter to me, but I can't directly say that, but I'll say it in some kind of like aloof kind of sideways sort of fashion because I can't really describe how it is that you're making me feel because you're my friend. Like, having a friend makes me feel, or having a group of friends, because essentially as a party of people. And they all tag along with him. Like, he rarely, and the only time he's ever asked them to come along on a quest or something is because he's like, well, this guy's useful for this and this person's useful for this, I'll ask them. And if they even hesitate like to come, he's just like, oh, no worries, I'll just go do it. And they're like, well, you're gonna die if you go do this by yourself. And he's just like, no, I won't, I'm fine. Like, zero interest in his own like survival as well, like, which is odd. And the only reason he wants to continue living is so he can kill even more goblins. Anyway, I gone on enough, but watch it. If you're watch it in that lens, watch it in that kind of lens, and it's a very interesting show for that reason, in my opinion. It's kind of wholesome. It's wholesome as fuck. Like, just the character's wholesome. Just seeing him develop, it's nice. It's kind of relatable, in my opinion. Anyway, enough about that shit. Hey, you can blame. Wait, somebody did message me. Let me see here. You know what, Amy? Well, actually, no. I don't remember if Amy, if you're listening to my live stream, you need to become you do the little minimum whatever Patreon support thing, so I can start having you on here because it'd be fun to have you on the streams too.
It's
Uh,
$5.
yeah, whatever. But I don't want to talk. Why we got to drop the actual number on there?
Well, why would you say minimum? The minimum doesn't give you the garden hermit role.
No, I said there
$5 roll
is
does.
a specific minimum in which it
Oh,
does. I didn't
okay. I guess I
say
wasn't
that.
paying attention.
Yeah, you weren't. You weren't. What's new, Ninomo? What the fuck is new? Fucking guy interrupting my ass. Um, so so yeah, and you can blame the Reddit for my long tirade or my long ramble about Goblin Slayer because that's what it was about fictional Zoid characters. And I haven't come across any others. I've come across stuff that I thought maybe, but then the character ends up doing stuff or having behavior that I'm like, okay, never mind. Like it like a lot of, because the problem is a lot of characters in fiction that like have this kind of aloof, sort of disconnected persona initially. Like you come to find out maybe like halfway through the series or the book that in fact it's just a facade. That the actual aloofness and disconnect is a facade, and that they actually really care about people and they can connect to others, but the pain of connecting to others is so difficult, so they hide it. You know what I'm talking about? You know, like it usually ends up being that, and then you're just like, oh, okay, I don't relate to that. Like you're just like, oh, okay, so they were just, the facade was the aloofness. Like it wasn't like the real them, like in that sense, if that makes, do you know what I'm saying?
Wait, what?
Oh my god. God, what? Why do I try? Why do I try?
Dude,
I swear
I
to
was,
fucking
I
God.
tried, man.
Oh, hey, what
What
is
the fuck were
going?
you saying?
What the fuck?
Dude, what was the point? Just summarize the point. I was listening and then I started reading the Reddit post.
No, what I was saying is that, hey, Gabriel, you can chime in if you want to, because I want to, fucking, he almost falling asleep on me over here. So, no, when you have fictional characters, oftentimes when they're somewhat relatable in a novel or book, for like a Zoid, like you're just like, oh, they're aloof and don't like people and want to stay away from others and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, I relate to that. And then like halfway through the story or at a certain point in the story, whether it's a show or a book, like it's revealed ultimately that it was all like a persona that the individual created to keep people away because it hurts too much to care about others, and it hurts too
Oh, yeah.
much to like be close because everyone that gets close to me dies, and I can't deal with that anymore. It's too painful. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always like the aloof tsundere whatever type character always ends up being something like that. Even if it's like a drama or something, if you're talking like the aloof sort of mean character, especially if it's like a dude or whatever, it's like the girl melts his heart and then all of a sudden he shows his true colors and all this shit, right? That fucking, it sucks. It sucks for a Zoid to read when that happens, because you're like, oh, okay, never mind. Like,
Yeah.
this cool character that I was like, oh, I get it. I think I get this guy or this gal. And then just like, oh, never mind. I don't get you at all. Cool character, interesting, but that's disappointing. That's too bad. And so every time I come across a character that has some Zoid traits, like I always just assume it's that. Like it's going to turn out to be that. And it usually does. It usually almost always turns out that...
They gotta have that edgy twist.
Yeah, or some kind of like, yeah, it always turns out that like, oh, this, assassin murderer is actually like super good and doesn't let anybody see it, and so this one character ends up like getting it out of them that they actually like super caring, and they just keep old people away like that. Like I'm not, it always fucking happens. It drives me nuts. And like I said, Goblin Slayer is probably the only one so far that has done that for like the entire first season. Like I haven't seen that happen, which is awesome. I think this guy is legitimately like just fucked because of his trauma and really, really disconnected to the point where he's barely learning how to socialize.
Oh, there's a character from one manga I read. I think it's pronounced Ajin or Aijin. I don't remember.
Oh, is it that one with the weird kind of like cool looking?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I haven't read it, but I like the art.
it's good. The art's really good.
I tried to watch a show, but I didn't like the 3D animation. It wasn't very good.
Well, the mangas are overall better just because it doesn't skip content, but I quite like the anime. That's actually
Hmm.
how I found the manga.
I like
But
oh, good.
the main character in the guy K
Hmm.
has some Zoid traits from what I remember.
So yeah, I mean, there's also it's fucked up. It's kind of funny to me, man. Like that the characters that I relate to the most are like ones that don't say anything or do much, or they do a lot of stuff because it's a story, but they seem to not actually give a shit about a lot of stuff going on. And then when they have their own kind of set of principles that they live by, but they don't even fully comprehend or understand why they live by those principles, those are the characters that are the most interesting to me. Another example of a manga I read and I liked it all the way through was Blame. Have you ever read Blame?
Yeah, I read it entirely, but like I forgot like 95% of it just
Oh,
because there's
yeah,
so much nothing
dude,
happening. It's
dude.
just art.
I know, but the plot is well. That's what's so funny. There's almost zero dialogue, right? There's pages upon pages of no dialogue at all in those books, and the art is awesome, and it does an insanely good job of creating an atmosphere of like just almost existential dread because of the sheer size of the world that they inhabit, right? Like the sheer insane maze labyrinth, like impossibility of the size of everything around them. Like it's just vast technological caverns of nothingness, like empty nothingness full of like silicon life forms that are like 90% of which are going to kill you in some fashion or another, right? And I love it because the explanation for it is also terrifying because the reason their world is underground, it's not really even underground. That's what's so kind of crazy. It is underground, but not really because there is no ground.
Yeah.
So it's like a world that it's kind of like it reminds me of the expanding universe idea. How like the universe keeps expanding to a point where things hit a certain point in which they are no longer reachable by any kind of by any physical means, right? And it's like a more tangible world in which that happened because whatever automatons or machines that created this world just kept building and building and building and building and building for centuries or millennia to the point where it's just become too big to even fathom. How I think they described that the world or whatever the construct that they live in is the size of like was it the size of Jupiter or bigger, like a certain amount of Jupiters? Like it's some insane number that how big their world is. But the character, yeah, the character just doesn't know why the fuck he's there, doesn't even know what he's doing. He just knows he's got to go up, and he just keeps going up. And throughout the books, he like makes decisions. Like he says, he decides I'm gonna save this person, or I'm gonna try to do something right here. But he doesn't like have a monologue about it. He doesn't explain it. He just does it. And then he does it, and then when he does it and people thank him or something, he just shrugs. He's just like, okay. And he just keeps going up. He just keeps going up the elevator shafts and everything else. There's no like I can't even give you a reason for why he does half the shit he does. I love that. I think that's amazing. Stephen Thacker. I've been nicknamed Silent Bob before by a work colleague. Yeah, but even Silent Bob's got like this really kind of like over the top personality, regardless of the fact that he doesn't talk. I never found Silent Bob like relatable. That's for fucking sure. Um, but that would annoy me if people called me that shit. I find Silent Bob pretty annoying. Plus, he dresses like a fucking spaz. Well, that's just my opinion. All right, so let's move on here.
Yeah, I'm fading, man. I need to go to sleep
Hey,
after this
dude,
one.
go to sleep, dude. I don't need you anyway. So see here. How do you feel? Ooh, how do you feel about your body? That was an hour ago, by the same person who put up one of the other ones. Okay. Hello. Today I realize I feel myself separate from my body. Something like that body is my instrument for interacting with the world, like a keyboard or a giant robot. Yes, absolutely. I realize that I am a person, and that I am when I look at and that I am when I look in the mirror, but my consciousness seems to live somewhere in the depths of my imagination. Does anyone know this? Abso-fucking-lutely, bro. Abso-fucking-lutely. That is my entire life. And it's interesting too, because like I think you had said, Ninomo, we got to do like I got to do like a video or a conversation or something specifically about that, like the whole body disconnect. The almost like full body, I don't want to call it like a dysmorphia, but like a full body disconnect from the self. How like like a lot of schizoids feel like they're just in a fucking machine, like a flesh or like a flesh machine that they manipulate. It doesn't feel like it's actually them. And that's how often I feel about my own body. I get irritated by my own body, frustrated, like when it has, pain or discomfort. I'm just like stupid. Like in my head, I don't go. Like it's kind of funny. Like whenever I have like really bad physical discomfort, I mean, I'll say, yeah, I have a stomach ache, or I have diarrhea, or I have cramping in this or that spot, right? Whatever it is. But in my head, I'm thinking stupid fucking garbage can human body. Like I'm always thinking like stupid machine not doing stuff right,
Yeah,
dumb stupid machine. Like I get mad at it in a
I
way that
think
almost seems separate from myself.
I think there's a positive to that though, because not too long ago I accidentally like cut my knuckle pretty deep with scissors because I wasn't paying attention, wasn't being properly safe, but
Running
um
with scissors.
no,
I
I
know.
was actually cutting paper.
No, I. Anyway, go ahead, Ninomo.
But yeah, like I cut it pretty deep. Not like so deep that I'd have to go to the ER, so I was able to manage it myself.
Hmm.
Um,
So no
but
stitches.
well, when I look at it now, when it's all healed, it's like maybe I did need stitches because it's
it's
pretty
all
wide.
it's all fucked up.
It's fine. It's not like protruding, but
Yeah.
anyway, the point is, when it initially happened, um, I've dealt with cuts in the past before without going into, I don't know, like TOS on YouTube or whatever. But so basically, I knew how to handle this, uh, and it was squirting blood, or not squirting, but it was kind of pouring blood, and I was able to disconnect from it,
Hmm.
and I actually nearly passed out, but it wasn't because of the wound, and it wasn't because of all the blood and like the shock of that. What really was, I guess, sending me into possibly passing out was the thought of, oh God, am I gonna have to go to the ER and deal with people? And it's still
That's
COVID
amazing.
times, so I was just like,
You're like,
I don't
I
want
don't really.
that.
You're like, I don't feel like getting sick, possibly worse than this wound, and on top of that,
Yeah,
dealing with a bunch of people that are like all sickly and coughing, and just dealing with the person at the counter and then the doctor and everything else. Um,
yep,
that's fascinating, man. You know what's funny is that that's kind of what I would be dealing with too. Like I think it would be more like for me it would just be a concern of like fuck, now I gotta change everything I had planned, which was sometimes nothing, and it's gonna fuck up this or it's gonna fuck up that, or now I'm gonna be inconvenienced in this way or that way. That's usually what I think of if I have to go to the doctor. I don't like going to the doctor because of that reason. Not so much because of, oh, I'm scared of the doctor, I'm scared of what they'll tell me or something. No, it's more like I don't want to spend my whole day there. Like, I'd just rather sit here, read a book or something, or hang out with my kids. Like, I don't want to fucking spend my entire day just wasting it, sitting in a fucking room full of people that are probably sicker than I am. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I can totally get that one. But yeah, man,
I
oh, go ahead.
I just think that that's a what's the word?
Benefit.
Yeah, but like an accidental or a not on purpose benefit of this
Side
disorder.
effect.
Yeah, at least for me, that it's like when shit hits the fan because I'm so disconnected from my body that I can just be like, oh, okay. Um, well, that sucks, but just take care of it. And just no point to panic.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that same way whenever I'm wounded in some fashion or another. Like not that long ago, I had like stubbed my toe, but like or scraped it, but my toenail was a little too long, so it actually like took it off the foundation of my toe.
Ugh.
So like it peeled it, but then it peeled it enough to where it ripped it from like the bedding, but not around the sides. So around the sides, it was still intact, right? It's still attached to my toe, but all the bedding in the middle was ripped off, right? So
Dude.
yeah, so what happened was, it bled like crazy, right? And it hurt like a motherfucker. But the thoughts going through my head were like fucking stupid, like fucking stupid toe, and now it's hurting, and now it's bleeding everywhere, and I'm just getting mad at it. Like I'm getting mad at the fact that it's causing me discomfort, and the fact that oh now I gotta wear my shoes weird, or now it's gonna fuck with this, or it's gonna fuck with that, or what if I have to go to the doctor now? Fuck this. Like I
Yeah,
start.
what I was most annoyed about with the knuckle wounds was shit like that. Like I was like, God damn it, how am I gonna fucking draw with this? Actually, my biggest
Yeah. Oh, there you
worry
go.
in the
Draw.
moment was how am I gonna use my mouse optimally when my game update comes out?
Yeah. No. Honestly, I've had that same issue. Like, dude, one time I had a really bad accident. I haven't told the story on here. It might actually be fun. One time I broke a bone in my wrist. Right. It was and it was this tiny bone. Like, but it hurt like a motherfucker. And the pain of it was less disconcerting than the fact that I was worried that I wouldn't be able to use a mouse, or I wouldn't be able to like properly turn pages, or I wouldn't, so on and so forth. Like, what am I supposed to do if this hand gets tired, right? So, so the story though behind it is hilarious because as I mentioned before, I worked at a sex shop, and there was this like really big, like cat o' nine tails, but it's like a really heavy one, right? And I like showing different people that would come to the store how to properly use it, right? Because I was kind of familiar with some of this stuff, uh, to say the least. And but the problem with something of that weight is that obviously it's meant to hit a target, so I could crack all that stuff, right, and makes a cool sound or whatever. But the issue was that because of the heft of it, I wasn't hitting a target because I wasn't hitting a person when I would crack it. But because it was so heavy upon the drop and the pullback, when I snapped my wrist, it snapped a bone in my wrist.
Jesus, is there like I'm looking at images right now. Is there like stones on the ends of the
No,
tails?
this one was all leather and it had like little like frays on each one, but it was like each string was like a thick like woven leathery kind of thing. So it put a lot of weight, and then the handle was kind of big too. It was like this much around, and so only somebody with like a little bit extra upper body could probably use it properly. But the issue wasn't my upper, my arm. The issue was my wrist and the fact that I wasn't hitting anything, right? So it wasn't taking the shock of the impact when I would flick my wrist, right? So because of that reason, it broke a bone in here, and it was the funniest situation at the time because I was like showing the customer like, oh, this is blah blah, and like just doing my spiel because usually when you talk to people like that, that's how you get them to buy shit. And and then like when it happened, I felt a pop in my wrist, right? And the moment I felt the pop in my wrist, I was like, okay, that's probably not a good thing. And the pain didn't quite hit me initially, so I was just like, all right, let me just put this fucking, cat and mouse thing back, and then, okay. And then I'm just like, and then I explained to the customer, like, oh yeah, that's how it works, blah, blah, blah. See you later. And I went to I went behind the counter, and then the pain started setting in, right? And it hurt so fucking badly to move the wrist in, like, pretty much any direction. And yeah, that was the first thing I was thinking. I was like, how the fuck am I going to type? How the fuck am I going to use the mouse? I was still going to school, too, so I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do all this stuff? How the hell am I going to, like... So, yeah, it managed to be okay, because I put, like, this fucking stupid strap thing down. And apparently, when they did an initial... When I initially went in to have somebody look at it, because it happened at work, so I had to go through work insurance, the person who looked at it thought it was some kind of sprain or something, right? And that it should go away. And I had even said, I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, hurts pretty fucking bad. But because, I think maybe because of the zoidism of me, like, not making a big deal out of it, and me not being like, oh my god, it hurts so much. Like, like, just me being maybe a little too disconnected from the situation, convince the doctor or whatever that I should be fine. And so then, when like two weeks or so went by, it wasn't getting any better. Like, and I was like, okay, that's weird. Well, no, like a week went by and it wasn't really getting better. And so then they put me through physical therapy, right? So then I go to physical therapy and they're making me do the wrist movements and they're making me do this and the up and downs and, the usual shit that you would do to like mend a wound on the wrist. Like, that is not a fucking breaking your bone. And so I was doing all these exercises and they were hurting like a motherfucker, right? And then they're like, that's good, it's healing.
Oh god.
So I'm like, oh man, okay, I guess this is physical therapy, I guess. Shit. And I was just getting mad at my wrist because I was like, fucking shitty body, like, god damn it. But I was mad at myself too because I should have known better than to be using that bigger one without a target to hit. I should have been hitting like a mannequin or something. So anyway, so then like I think like a month goes by or something, and then I'm like, okay, well the physical therapy is kind of helping, but it kind of still fucking hurts. Like, and it feels weird right here. Like, and I hear this weird click. Like, what the fuck is this? And so then I finally got a proper like full X-ray of my fucking wrist, and they found, yeah, it was a fucking bone. By the time they X-rayed it, the doctor noticed that the bone was already healing. And it was already like merging together. And so when they looked at it, they were like, "Oh, that shit was broken this whole time. It's now healing, but it's been broken like that whole time we were going to physical therapy."
Is your wrist fucked because of that now?
No, thankfully it's not. It healed just fine, and I guess whatever pain the physical therapy was causing me was, they even had me do acupuncture and shit. Whatever pain the physical therapy was causing me was just, it was kind of like due to the movement around the broken bone, but it didn't really affect or dislodge or damage the tissue or the bone itself any further, like from healing. So I guess I wasn't doing, because I wasn't lifting, right? Because they told me not to lift anything, and I couldn't lift anything over 5 pounds or whatever. And so because of that reason, then like I guess it didn't cause any actual damage. So all I was doing going to physical therapy was just feeling just extreme pain with absolutely no benefits. So it was awesome. Like, I was just sitting there for like, I think it was like a few times a week. I had to go in and just like, oh, come to the pain room. Where we tell you that it's getting better as you're just hurting yourself without any results.
Oh, something on the topic of this Reddit post I just thought of after reading Steven's comment. Because they said, yeah, I feel like a machine all the time, feeling real at times. And does anyone else get really stiff in public? Like, you're trying to... It's like not actively, but you just turn into like a brick, I guess. And you like barely breathe, and just I, I don't know. That's what I do when I'm in public, especially around so many people. It's like I just freeze up.
Like, do you feel like you can't breathe, like, or you just can't
I
move?
can breathe. It's just I don't like want to bring attention to myself because I don't want people to look at me and talk to me. But I think it does the opposite because I get so stiff that it looks like I'm just like a fucking mannequin with
Hmm.
how still I am. So I'll try to um do like the movements that other people do to look like I'm a normal human being.
Hmm. Just
Like, or
replicating movement.
yeah, or I'll just shuffle my feet, but I think it comes across as like really stiff. And then my body insecurity pops in and it's like, hold on, I have to make room for my invisible balls. Like I can't just stand normally like I would.
Oh man, that's amazing. I never even thought of that aspect of it. Like, oh man, that's actually a new concept for me. Thank you for that.
I
I never.
honestly find it annoying to do.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that that's interesting. The having to like when you're a trans individual, having to relearn or teach yourself specific type of movements that are supposed
It's
to like that are supposed to be more this or that depending on what direction things are going. So like
yeah,
yeah, like so you got to sit, you got to yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
my insecurity around that stuff has lessened a lot,
Mm,
since I've been able to transition, but there's some things that still stick around. Like I take my shirts off, I guess like a normal dude would,
mm,
when realistically that's horrible for your shirts because it pulls on the back of them. But I
mm.
can't fucking stop now because it's just a habit. And nowadays I'm just like, this is fucking stupid. But I can't stop myself from doing it because it's just automatic
Wait,
now.
what do you mean exactly? How does one remove a shirt in a gendered way?
Um well,
I'm confused. Like I'm not too sure. I didn't know there was a specific way I remove my shirts.
well, it's just the way that I know, I guess, or I've seen and
Okay, well, because
heard
generally
about.
what I do is I just grab this part and I just tuck my arm in, and then I get the other end and then I just pull it up and over. I don't really do like the whole like, hey, look at my six pack, double arm, lift up over my body shirt. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't know which one. What are you describing exactly?
I pull it from the back of the neck.
Like this? Or do you
Yeah.
crumple up the back and then pull it forward like a?
No, I just pull the neck,
Uh
which
huh.
fucks up the shirt.
Yeah, I don't do that. I
I
don't know.
used to do it the arm way, but
Yeah,
it's like when I'm not thinking about it, I just do it the fucked up way, and it's like, oh my god.
but wait, you used to do the arm, but at some point, did you teach yourself or?
Yes, because my insecurity made me feel like I,
Interesting.
I have to do it the male way. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't think most guys out there even see the way a shirt gets
I think
removed as
most
gendered.
people don't even think about this, either gender or any gender.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a very gender specific way of removing a shirt. Like, is there? Like, I don't like what I'm saying is that like I know dudes that take it off with the neck thing. I know people that take it off like I do, which is like one arm then over. I know some people that like do the whole like from the front to the up kind of thing. Um, there's like different ways to take off your shirt. The only reason I can imagine there's like a difference between the way women and men take off the shirts is because of the logistics of the thing. If there's titties in the way, especially sizable ones, then I can see why like you couldn't do certain maneuvers of shirt removal as easily. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. Like, so what's fascinating to me is that there might be like some like the insecurities themselves might be attached to like a manufactured sense of what it is to remove a shirt properly, right?
I mean, it was pretty much just me trying to find any little scrap of masculinity for myself at the time.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting.
even really small things like that made a difference
Like
to me.
sitting with your legs apart, and stuff, right?
Uh, yeah,
Like
in public
what do they
settings.
call it? Man spreading, as they like to call it. Um, yeah, yeah, because yeah, you're right. Like that's not something I do because oh, that's how men sit. It's just because yeah, your balls are in the way. I actually I've met dudes that sit cross-legged. I don't understand how that's comfortable. I'm like, the fuck you. The only thing I can think of with those dudes, and I'm not talking shit, is that they just have tiny balls. They must have really tiny balls. Like there's guys out there with tiny balls, and I'm guessing they have the tiniest balls because I can't sit cross-legged like that. That shit would fucking be uncomfortable beyond belief.
What I've
Um,
noticed lately, or I guess the past year,
mhm,
is like because I've just generally stopped caring about doing things like that. Um, is that I'll sit cross-legged or with like the one leg up look, with your legs kind of spread out,
mhm.
like one leg up on the other knee, since I guess that's a
Yeah,
position dudes sit in. But it's like I'll just switch to whatever's comfortable in the moment, or whatever's automatic.
yeah. Whatever works at any given moment.
But I just think that's funny because non-binary. So it's just like, oh, okay, correlation, I guess.
Huh. I also it also makes me think about one other thing too because like I didn't know about that because I never thought about that aspect that dilemma that would exist in a trans individual is the position in which they're sitting and the how they're trying to perform, I guess, not perform, isn't it performative action at that point? But
Pretty much, because it's not natural until you
yeah.
make it natural.
Yeah, until you get used to it. But that also brings another point into discussion, which is because I used to sell Packers all the time at the store, and yeah, it was like every couple of days I sold like one or two Packers. It wasn't like all the time, but I got asked for them, and I learned a lot about them and stuff, and that's the one thing that never came up. Probably it's because it's too personal. But it's interesting because I mean I would assume because I always thought that the purpose of the Packer was obviously for body dysmorphic related things because they wanted to have a better presentation of what they're trying to put out there to the world, and
Yeah.
so they would wear the Packer so that it shapes the body in a more masculine fashion. And then on top of that, some of the Packers that they would sell were functional. So yeah, they could use them for sex. So they could just like, zip her down and start fucking. So, and obviously that lends to that if they have a partner and stuff, the masculine aspect of it. And I also sold ones that had the function to actually pee through them, which is interesting. So you can pee standing
Yeah,
up.
I've
Yeah.
seen some of those.
Yeah, yeah. Most people have told me they don't work so great. Others work better than others. Imagine if it doesn't work too good. That sucks. Like you just piss all over yourself. Like that's so shit, dude. I'd be so pissed. You're like, oh, I got this cool thing. I can go fucking, go into the dude's restroom, stand up peeing, and imagine there's like a dude next to you, and it just starts shooting everywhere. It fucking hits a fucking angle, starts peeing on the guy to the right of you. Oh man, how pissed would he be? You fucking pissing on him. But but the point is, yeah, like they would have all these things, and I never thought like also the use of it would be that you would feel something, right? And because you would feel it, it would also maybe remind you to, or kind of incentivize you to sit with your legs apart.
Yeah.
Because you would feel like a bulge there, like something between your legs that wouldn't be comfy if you were to cross your legs. So you're like, well, I'm going to sit like this. So it's almost like you train yourself to sit in the manner that is and it's kind of fascinating to me because it's counterintuitive, right? So in the sense that they're doing it for represent like performance purposes or whatever, but they're literally training themselves to sit in a way that doesn't feel intuitive to them. And that's so interesting that like the intuitiveness of the way one will sit gets superseded by the personal psychological needs of the individual and the insecurities of that individual. So it makes me actually wonder, is it necessarily a good thing to, say, fall prey to those insecurities and try to produce those results in yourself? Or is it actually healthier to say, fuck it, oh well, gives a shit how I sit? Like, which one of those two paths is actually psychologically healthier for the individual, I wonder?
Um,
Well, as far as when it comes to
I'd
performative stuff.
I'd say for me it was just saying fuck it, because at the end of the day, I'm always gonna look like a twink, and I'm always gonna look feminine in some sense. Like, I can grow a little bit of a beard, but the point is,
You need them gains. Go get them gains. That's what you need to do.
even
All
if
that
I did
protein.
something like that, I'd still be small
Hmm.
in height and weight,
Hmm.
because it's just hard for me to gain weight. So,
Just buy some stilts. I'm
fucking
kidding.
moon boots or some shit.
Get some of those fucking goth boots with the fucking 5 inch
Yeah.
5 inch platforms. Like, oh, how about this? You could take up a scene that caters to getting taller. So you could just be like,
Oh my
you could be
god.
goth and have the giant ass boots and just be like 6'1" with like.
If I'm being real with you, like, when I do wear, because I do have shoes that make me like, fuck, I think like 2 or 3 inches taller, and it's weird. Like, I feel like I'm in the spotlight and I just want to shrink back down because that's what I'm
That's
used
so
to,
funny.
my
That's so
natural height.
funny. No, but it's
But
also interesting your psychological need to isolate and hide kind of runs contrary to your want of being bigger and taller and more noticeable, right?
yeah,
That's fascinating to me. I
I
like that
think it's partly just because
juxtaposition.
I've been so used to this height. I mean, I'm sure if I were on like stilts all the time, it'd be different, but
I mean, I'd find it strange to not be this height because I'm so used to
yeah.
seeing the world at a specific angle, and I'm used to also interacting with the world in a specific way. Like, there's some stuff that I like. I look at it and I go, "Fuck, I'm gonna have to get on my knees," or "Fuck, I'm gonna have to lay down and look under." Like, I can't just squat to do this one. Um, or I'm not gonna squeeze through there, or that's not gonna happen due to my size.
Yeah, plus there's perks to height.
Mm.
Like, you don't have to crawl onto the fucking kitchen counter like I do to grab my plates. But I can go into small spaces, and
Yeah.
that's useful.
Well, I mean, yeah, if somebody breaks into your home, you can fucking go run and hide in a cupboard. I'm fucked. It's for me, it's fight. It ain't no flight. I'm a big motherfucker. It's just gonna be like, where am I gonna go? Where am I gonna hide? That isn't obvious. So yeah, that's one part that's kind of handy. The stealth aspect of it is cool. My dexterity's super shit, so I'd be a terrible rogue in real life. I'd be an awful ranger or rogue. No bueno. More of a
Yeah.
barbarian or fighter, if anything. Um, that's interesting to me. It also makes you a bigger target for some stuff. Oh, which brings to mind, I just like your opinion on this since we're on the subject of body stuff. I wonder, because is there a possibility? Because I've noticed that there's certain trans men, because instead of going say, trying to go the muscular route, they go the husky route, right? Especially if they're not too short, like say they're say they're close to 6 foot, like they're like 5'10", 5'11" or something, that they go this route of like gaining weight, and even after they had say transitioned or whatever, they go the kind of huskier route to get this kind of chubby dad bod thing going. And I always wondered if that was just like, depression causing them to not wanting to go exercise and do stuff, or if that was partially intentional, so that they look like some husky guy, like with a dad bod or something.
I
That's
mean,
I always wondered that.
I'm sure it probably helps with uh, passing.
Yeah, because they get that. Because it's interesting too. Because what makes me think it's intentional, sometimes, is because I don't know if it has to do with the hormones or whatever, but they seem to get like they start developing the fat in places a guy would, instead of places a woman would. So
Yes,
they,
that
they
is the
start
hormones.
yeah. So then they start getting like a beer belly, right? So instead of getting like the the love handles
It
and the
also
ass, it starts giving them like a fat beer belly, like a
it
guy
also
would get.
depends on genes.
Mhm. Yeah, I can imagine that. And
And also when you started transitioning, like for me, because I started when I was 17,
mhm.
I already had, I guess, a feminine ass, I guess. Um, and
You already had a banging ass.
I mean, I
A tight
guess,
little bubble butt.
I guess the more to it is functionally better, just because I actually sit on my ass a lot.
Hmm.
But where was I going with this?
Where
It
were you going
just
with your ass?
there's so many factors that go into it. Like the sooner you start, the better your results will be. Especially if you start before puberty, because then you're only going to have the gender that you want to be, puberty.
Yeah, yeah. So in other words,
Unlike me, where I had to go through female puberty, and so I got the results of that I can't exactly get rid of.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's how.
yeah,
That's why the conversation is so volatile, so controversial and stuff when discussing when people are discussing the whole like when to start hormone therapy kind of situation. That's
I
why.
totally get it, because it's like, you know, they might not fully know about absolutely everything that will happen, even if they've looked fully in depth about it.
Yeah.
Like there's so many small things that I didn't really know about, and then it happened, and then I was like, oh, okay, all right. Like I didn't know that even after being on this for 3 years that I'd still get like weird occasional cramps, but
Hmm.
I haven't had a period since like more than 3 years ago.
Interesting.
But it's like, I don't know if it's, the system down there trying to still function, or if it's a result of the ovaries shrinking, because they do that.
I remember you had said in some other conversation, you're like, die, bitch.
Yeah,
And it's
because
only
it's
your
fucking
ovaries that
annoying.
die. You're like, die, ovaries, you pieces of shit.
And
Um,
it usually happens when I'm trying to sleep, and it's the worst, because it's like, I just want to sleep. I don't want to deal with this.
have you ever punched yourself in the ovaries in anger?
Yes,
I can imagine that. You're just like, fuck you, die.
because
Yeah.
it's a mix of, like, I get dysphoric from it, because
Hmm.
I'm reminded that they're there,
Yeah.
uh, and then also, it's just fucking annoying, because I'm just trying to sleep, and then that shit starts up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both. So I can imagine the amount of anger that would cause. Well, I can't imagine, but I can try.
I wonder if trans women get nut pain. Like, I don't really know much
Well, I mean, it depends. Are you
at
talking
all
about
with,
like
like,
post-op?
stuff like that.
You're talking like post-op, right?
No, I just mean in general, like, nothing done there.
Well, I mean, if they're not if they're pre-op, then yeah, I mean they're gonna get I mean, if you you know kick a pre-op trans woman in the nuts, like it's gonna
Oh
hurt
no, I
like a
didn't.
motherfucker.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean like that. I just meant like I wonder if they have any occasional um weird feelings like that. Like,
I'm trying to think. Okay, well, I can think of examples in which a similar situation may occur for a. I mean, this is just me speculating for a trans woman. Would be possibly kind of those things I've described, like probably unintentional boners would be annoying. Or maybe like dysphoric, because guys get unintentional boners all the time.
yeah,
Like it's not because you're in a sexual situation. It's just because like morning wood is an example. So
I've had it happen, and it's so fucking annoying when you're not like a sexual person because it's like, dude, I want to play a video game. I don't want to go beat the meat yet.
no, I get it, but that's the thing. Oftentimes even but that's the thing. Even when, for a guy, even when an erection occurs, say from the morning wood or whatever, or sitting in a weird position or something, um, it's not like you wake up, you're like, fucking half asleep. You don't want to get out of bed, and you're just sitting there with a fucking rock hard, all right, and and then usually what helps is just getting up and moving around. Because half the time, what's annoying is that half the time, if you try to just get rid of it by squeezing one out, you can't because you got to really pee. So a lot of the times it's because your bladder's full, and so you have to go pee really bad. So it's kind of a shitty situation because you're stuck between having an erection which doesn't let you go pee and having to get rid of it so that you could go pee so that you could stop having this erection.
So it's like
It's
dick
annoying.
constipation.
Yeah, it's like a dick constipation. Like and so yeah, because I've noticed that every single time it's occurred to me in the morning, it's because I have to piss. And there's been instances which kind of suck because like maybe your partner will wake up before you, and then you're just sitting there with this like hard on, and they're just like ooh, right? And then you're like get woken up by playful touching, and then you're just like, oh fuck, what's going on? And then you're like, oh, this is cool, but then you realize, oh no, I gotta piss really bad. And so since you have to pee really bad, they're having a good time with it, and you're just sitting there going, I gotta go pee. Like, cause if you have to pee really fucking bad or pretty bad, like if your bladder's full, I don't understand how any guy can nut with a full bladder. Like that's impossible. It's fucking impossible. Because you can feel upon every use of your phallus, you feel the fucking pressure on your bladder, and it's awful. So yeah, those situations are hilarious because then you just like, okay, I gotta give it to this person what they want, and then I gotta go pee. And it's just funny. You can't even finish half the time. So there are well anyway that's fucking complete non sequitur, but the point is I imagine something like morning would be a pretty dysphoric equivalent to say something like these cramps you're describing. Obviously less painful, but dysphoric nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I don't know how effective the hormones are at getting rid of certain things like morning wood. Like I don't know if it's gonna have an effect on that or getting rid of for some reason there's instances in which you get one when you have really bad not indigestion, like intestinal problems. It's really weird. I've had instances in which like it starts happening, but I'm like, oh, I'm just doubled over in pain from like fucking food poisoning or something, right?
It's
And
fucking
then
weird.
so like I'm like doubled over and my intestines are just killing me. They're just like blah, 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 right? And then I start getting one and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like that's the last thing I need right now. Like I need to go take shit. Like what is this? So I don't know what causes that. in my head I had this like idea that perhaps like all the fucking movement going on in there while your body's trying to process all this and the pain it's causing is somehow stimulating the prostate and causing an erection where you don't want one because you're in pain. You're not feeling good at all.
Well, that could be, because I've found that, after I'm done doing the business,
Mm-hmm.
that's a time where it's more likely that I might get those weird cramps than any other time. But it does occasionally happen
Well, there could definitely
when
be a
I'm not doing
correlation there.
anything.
It could be different
Well,
correlation there.
yeah, definitely, I think so.
I mean, and that's a thing too. When you're talking trans individuals, you're gonna have like these really interesting kind of uh, hybrid side effects of like having two systems that somewhat contradict each other in certain respects, and so you'll get results that are unique to a trans person. And so you'll get issues that are unique, like physical manifestations, or essentially stuff that it's kind of like how medication can affect one another if you take it at the same time. So it's kind of like that. You're gonna have some kind of cross side effect when you're putting a specific type of hormone into an individual that has a body that's still attempting to do whatever it initially intended to do. So it's that part alone I can imagine. Man, I gotta. That's definitely shit I'd be interested in talking about.
It's
But
definitely a dysphoric part of it.
what the,
Just knowing that like you still have these systems inside of you that are trying to do the thing you don't want them to do.
mm,
So until you get rid of them, and even after you get rid of them, you're still gonna have to take this hormone
yeah,
for your entire life. Because if you get rid of those systems, then what the fuck do you have to make hormones? None. Well, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
no,
At least
yeah.
like the main ones.
I mean that's interesting too. That brings into mind for me, like like the what's the word? Like okay, as far as to kind of get this back on the track of the schizoid mind is
Sorry.
no, it's okay. No, it's still really interesting because like that's the thing, man. Like I love hearing unique schizoid perspectives about specific ways of interpreting their, I guess, like experience in life, because your experience and my experience are completely different. Gabriel hasn't said shit, but his experience is completely different as well, and for a variety of reasons, cultural reasons, physical reasons, so on and so forth, right? And what's interesting to me is that when you're a Zoid, I've heard I've listened to podcasts, or I've listened to other trans people talk about their experiences and so on, and how they feel about this and that and blah blah blah. Like I because I'm interested, I'm curious, right? But the way, say, a trans individual that is a schizoid experiences the same things might be described in a way that makes more sense to me because I relate to that aspect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming the way a trans schizoid individual or trans non that's the thing, like that's where it gets difficult, because if you have gender dysphoria, you can't really like how do you say I'm gender dysphoric but neurotypical? Like, is that even like, can that be done like on a DSM sort of? Like I'm not too
Honestly,
sure.
at this point, like when people talk about being trans being like a mental disorder, I'm like, honestly, probably yeah.
Well, I mean,
But
cause it's a
it's like a
that's
sensitive topic
oh no,
for a lot of
anything,
people, I think.
and that's the problem. Like that's the interesting thing, is because you're a Zoid, you're more easily able to disconnect from the identity related aspects of say being trans, right? So like you're able to have conversations and it doesn't damage your sense of self or personality or your sense of ego, I guess. So it's interesting to me because you can. I feel like you can have conversations about very um, sensitive topics that are personal to the lived experience of a Zoid, that you might not easily be able to do the same with somebody that's not a Zoid, or at least cluster A mostly in some kind of fashion with a somewhat autistic sort of thinking. And but add the disconnect to it, and it's even easier for a person to have a conversation about almost any topic, regardless of how emotionally sensitive it would be considered, right? So like these things you're telling me would be highly difficult to even describe for, say, a person that isn't a schizoid. I would say it'd be even more difficult to describe it to, say, someone like me who isn't trans. And so I thank you for that, because it just adds to my repertoire of useless knowledge.
I mean, for me, it's like initially I am insecure of it, but once that information's out, it's just like, whatever, dude. Like,
Fuck it.
it is what it is.
No, but thank you.
And
Thank
I
you for
don't
the
like
info.
sharing it.
That's interesting. Oh, but the way I was going to tie it to the schizoid thing as well is the how do I describe this? Like psychological dysphoria, not body dysphoria. So, here's a topic, okay? So I feel like a lot of Zoids deal with a kind of psychological or neurological sort of dysphoria. In the sense that it's the same thing. Like, you know how we just said that the a trans individual is taking hormones. Those hormones are fucking and kind of trying to change and combating with the hormones that body already produced for so many years, especially if it's done post puberty and everything. And so that battlefield essentially causes certain effects, right, and certain negative psychological issues and physical dilemmas and so on. So then I think, okay, what if we have the same situation, but we're talking about like the neurological, like the neurodiverse versus the neurotypical brain, right, and body connection. So then I start thinking, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so there's certain things that the human body, especially like the human body evolved to do, right? There's certain aspects of psychological evolution or evolutionary psychology that are pretty apt, and I do believe exist. I don't think they're like I don't have like a completely materialist position when it comes to evolutionary psychology. I don't think it's like the truth written like, and this is how humans are and this is how they will all be, and this is just how you're programmed and you have no way to deviate from that. Like, I don't believe that at all. But I know that there's certain programming in the human brain that is associated to the manner in which humans evolved over the course of thousands of years, if not million, well, hundreds of thousands, so on and so forth. But the disconnect, the dysphoria aspect of it that I'm trying to describe is that I am a human being, right? My brain is a human brain. My psychology is quote unquote a human psychology, right? But because I'm a schizoid, so many things about my human psychology, the way my brain or my thoughts were supposed to go, due to evolutionary psychology, don't. And so my individual psychological profile runs contrary with the neurological designs of what the brain is supposed to do. And so it causes like a disconnect, which is kind of a neurological dysphoria. So you have situations in which like my body tries to do, like my brain tries to do something very human or be affected by something that is normally a response mechanism that most individuals have to specific types of stimuli. And because I'm not producing those responses, it causes a dilemma. And when those responses attempt to be produced, the psychological responses attempt to be produced, I don't process them correctly. And so then they cause anxiety or discomfort like a dysphoria, because you're like, am I human? Am I not human? What is this? Why is my brain doing this to me right now? I feel crazy. This isn't what I want. This isn't how my brain works. It shouldn't be doing this right now. And so then you're like, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. Right. And it's interesting because it's almost like, does that make sense? What I'm saying? Or do I just
zoned
sound?
out.
Ah, fuck you. Anyway, guys in chat, there's 10 people in chat. Does anything I just said make sense to you? Like, is there almost like a dysphoria? Like the way some, I guess maybe a person would describe a body dysphoria, but like a psychological or neurological dysphoria, where you're like, I'm a human being, but my brain isn't doing like what it's supposed to be doing, like what I see other people intuitively do, because that's just how humans developed. I'm not doing it, and I can't do it, and I don't want to do it. And so because of that reason, you feel like disconnected from your brain, like your mind or your consciousness is different than the material brain. Like,
Yeah.
like like my material brain is combating with my psychology, if that makes sense. So like my neurological stuff is combating with my psychological stuff. So it's like boom, 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 boom. Like, oh,
I mostly get what you mean.
Yeah, like my mind is going, I don't like this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be affected by this in this way. And then my evolved brain, my evolutionary psychology brain is like, no, this is how it's supposed to go. You're supposed to think this or feel this way or be affected by these external stimuli in this manner. And then my psychology is like, no, fuck you, that's not how it works. And it causes like a conflict, and that conflict then leads you to feel dysphoric about your humanity, about your sentience. Yeah. Anyway, that's the only way I could describe it. And that's another thing too that I find really interesting. And guys, somebody in chat, talk to me here. Do you guys have this thing? Because I do this all the time, and I want to know if it's something just because sometimes I feel like, even though I'm a Zoid or whatever, like I feel like I'm also just insane, like in some other way. Like I honestly wouldn't be surprised if like I really got like down and dirty, that I would have some kind of like comorbid schizotypal diagnosis or something, because of the way the brain does things sometimes. So I get confused. Steven Thacker said, yeah, I feel like that. Feel like I'm not human, but obviously I am. Exactly, right? It's accepting that you're human that helps you, in my opinion, kind of resolve a lot of the issues that come, the negative symptoms, is the acceptance of certain human parts of you. But that's a different conversation. Man. Oh yeah. So my mind, this is the thing that makes me feel like I'm crazy or something. My mind does this thing sometimes where I'm having a conversation with Ninomo, and they're telling me this or that, and we're having a discussion about something, right? And then like my brain, and I don't know if this is that autistic sort of thinking that I've talked to people about, starts doing this weird thing where it starts like connecting dots, right? And starts creating theories and concepts and connections where there was none, where they didn't exist. And so then like all these webs like that were completely disparate start just fleshing together. And as it happens, new ideas start springing up, almost like completely like revolutionary ideas, at least within my mind, or ideas that completely change the paradigm of the manner in which I'm viewing or perceiving reality, or a specific aspect of reality. And so then once that shift occurs and those connections happen, then I feel like I'm no longer the person I was prior to that connection. I feel like I'm some new variant of that same consciousness. Like I have this new information that just clicked and sync up, and there was a logical sort of cohesiveness there. And so now It's new. It's like a new synapse that's developed or something. And what's interesting though is that sometimes those new ideas that just start kind of culminating inside my mind will disconnect previously established synapses or thought patterns and reestablish and recycle them and create new ones that then lock in temporarily as needed. And it happens like on the fly, like on the spot. Like the moment Ninomo started telling me like about, you know, your balls, like not having balls and then wanting to sit certain ways and all this stuff, and then my brain started going doom 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 doom. And even while I'm talking to you guys, oftentimes when I'm talking to you guys, oftentimes like I might seem as if I've had this thought before and I'm just yeah, I feel you, man. Spray paint my mind on a wall, right? Oftentimes, I do a pretty good job, and I'm gonna be like dead fucking honest with you guys. I do a pretty good job of making it look like I already had this thought before, or I already came up with this concept or view or perspective at some point or another, and now I'm recalling it and matching it up to what is being discussed at the moment. That's not always the case. Oftentimes, these new things that fucking happen, and then I just float into the conversation because I know how. I don't know. It's just what I do, and I think it's just an adaptive thing because I've done that with people too as well. Like when they're having a conversation with me about a topic I'm unfamiliar with, I'll start connecting it to like a million other things, and then start developing all this other stuff. And so then I'll kind of more casually like introduce the idea or thought, and then it seems as if, oh, you know, they've always thought this, and they just brought it up. It's like, no, this is a new thought. This is like a whole new fucking thing. And even after when that happens, even after the conversation is over and the stream ends or whatever, it's still running through my head. It's still creating things. So does anybody in chat relate to that? Or am I just fucking nuts? Like, and it's okay. It's just we're a different kind of nuts. Like, I have a certain kind of nuts that's like very similar to what you guys deal with, but maybe not all of it. Is this a schizoid thing? Or is this just like an autism thing? What is it? I don't even know if I made any sense at all. Like, that's what's so difficult.
I'm trying to unravel like what the fuck you said
Exactly,
and trying to
man.
because
So discouraging. So discouraging. Like I don't like nothing bad on you. I'm just saying like nobody's really the only person that said anything was Sam Jam. But I feel like it's not because they're not talking. I feel like because what I'm saying sounds crazy. Like in my head, I'm going, okay, I'm not making sense to anyone right now.
Well, it's just because I'm trying to find like the logical connections. Because for me, like I'll go in my head and frequently after, like usually, these conversations on stream and stuff, I'll spend like an hour or two just laying in bed thinking about it and trying to unravel like the possibilities of what could have been said or like what was meant. Just like any scenario. Maybe it's anxious brain, I don't know, but that's usually what happens to me. But I don't know if it's like what you go through. I'm honestly having trouble understanding how the fuck you think with that.
Okay, like here, like I'm trying to think of a more tangible example of describing the nature of the way my mind seems to work a lot of the time. And okay, so when I was going to the university and I was taking my graduate classes, right? Oftentimes, and it happened a lot during these classes because when you're taking, especially if it's a liberal arts, so it's a history major. So I was taking my graduate classes for history. And usually what you do is you sit around like like a table type square circle type thing, and then you discuss books and then you recollect various theories and ideas and so on, and so you make these connections, right? When it comes to your trade or your thing you're trying to learn, and you start like relating books, other history books or other things, right? And so then that's what you do. You sit around a circle, and it's like a it's less of a like a teacher is in front of you talking and telling you stuff, and more of a conversation. Okay. And so it's more like, okay, we were supposed to read this book this week. On Friday, we're getting together, and now we're going to talk about the book, and we're going to go through it chapter by chapter and discuss our ideas pertaining to the book, and then connect it to previous stuff we read, right? And so when I would be in those situations like this, a conversation. So the more people are involved, the even better for me. I would sound like an insane person, like 90%, not 90%, like at some point, at least 25% of the time I said anything, I felt like I was crazy. And then the people around me would look like, make weird faces, or offended faces, or confused faces. And even the professors would just be like what? Like they would accuse me of derailing the entire point of the conversation or the book, right? And that wasn't my intention. Right. So what would happen is, people would bringing up points about this or that in the book. And my mind would automatically start going, okay, this chapter related this idea, this concept, this narrative. And then I would start thinking about that narrative and that concept via like a variety of different fields and different ideas. And I started thinking about it in philosophical terms. I started thinking about it in real politics sort of terms. And I started thinking about it in theological terms. And so then my mind would just start going fucking all over the goddamn place with whatever concept we're initially discussing. And then things would just click. They would just fucking click, right? And I would say them. And because I thought it was in a setting in which that's what you do, right? This is a conversation. And the more this occurred, the more I realized this isn't the normal thing. Like, my brain isn't doing what it's normally doing, because I don't see other people doing what I'm doing. And I'm not trying to say that like, oh, I'm so fucking big brain or any shit like that. No. They're providing all kinds of really insightful things about the topic. They're feeding me ideas as well. But I would just go off on these like tangents where like it would connect from one thing to the next until the professor or whatever would just have to go, okay, you lost us all. Like, you lost us. And in my head, it's all making sense, right? And it's not like and I'm very stringent when it comes to like the connections I make. And I offer that this is just speculation, or that's speculation, or I've come to a certain logical conclusion or connection or whatever. And I'll offer that as well during the conversation, oftentimes, because I don't want to make the people around me feel as if I'm trying to profess some grand narrative, right? Some grand truth. I just ask questions.
Okay, now that you've explained it, I understand now. Yeah, I do that as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I go off on as many
tangents,
like possible tangents or topics like the political stuff, but yeah, I do that. I end up doing that a lot in conversation, and I think a simple way to represent that is essentially how these conversations end up going. Like, we start on one thing and then it just keeps jumping.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we started on body dysmorphia, and now I'm talking about fucking neurological dysmorphia. Like, I never thought about it like that. Like, I am telling you right now, never in my entire life up until this point did I ever think of the mind, the neurology, psychological disconnect between what is human and what is not in a dysphoric manner until this conversation we had, because of the topic. That is the first time I've had those words come out of my mouth. That is the first time I've made any kind of connection between that. A lot of the theories and concept that I've discussed with you guys and I've talked about are shit that just kind of came to mind over the course of the last couple of months. I don't know how my brain processes things. It's so fucking confusing. And I don't stop it because I feel like whenever I try to stop it from doing it, it hurts almost. It's difficult. It's painful. But yeah, like I don't know. Like, I don't know how many of you guys have been in a scenario in which you think you're pretty sane, like you're talking and you're talking, and then halfway through you realize, uh oh, I sound crazy to them, and then you're kind of stopped. There's like a bunch of times where that I did that, where or I become insecure about the direction I take things in because I have to sugarcoat or change the manner in which I present the information to be more easily
Yeah,
palatable or more easily understood or consumed by the person I'm discussing it with. And so then I have to
I
like watch my words and not trigger certain what do you call them, psychological there's a word psychological react not reactives like trigger like fucking like trigger finger shit. Like you can't say certain things because it'll trigger finger intuitive stuff inside the human mind. But go ahead. Sorry, Nina.
I have those problems with my friend. Like I'll start on one topic, like just talking about, a game or something, and then I'll just drop into like an in-depth explanation or like unraveling as to why this could be, why player behavior is this way and so forth. And she just sits there like, "What? Dude, you were talking about how like loot rolls were bad or something." Like it literally just jumps from the simplest thing to suddenly I'm digging into this. But even with other topics, it's sort of, it's pretty much the same thing. Like I I think it's just hard for people that don't think the way we do and unravel the unravel things the way we do to understand it.
Like we dismantle everything, right?
Yeah,
It's like we
because I
dismantle and pick apart stuff and look at the raw resources and components, and then we start looking at like how those components are associated to other components.
and plus the terminology and the way you word things, because you had to simplify it for my dumbass, but I still got it. But even when I've done that for my friend, she's like, I don't quite get it, but I think I understand a little bit of it, but like not quite.
It makes you feel nuts, right?
Yeah, like
It makes you feel, and that's that kind of dysphoric part too that I'm describing. You you
I've
you feel
I've
like
had
I'm
that.
not human. Like
Yeah,
you feel
I've had that
inhuman.
experience when I'm trying to talk to her about Schizoid, which I do a lot. But it's just, I don't think it's something that, because she's not neurotypical, but she isn't cluster A. Like she just has like some traits and symptoms of BPD and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, no.
depression and stuff. But it's just, I don't know. It's different. I don't think, because she's told me before that she can't quite comprehend how I feel or how my brain is. Because I've tried explaining to her how feelings do feel when I do feel them.
Good
Like
luck.
how I explained how I explained one time that um like I was angry one time, or I wanted to be angry. I'm not sure if I was angry, but it was like a glass pane in front of my chest, and the anger was on the outside of it. It was there, but I couldn't feel it. But it was still technically there. It's like, was I even angry? I don't know, but it was something. And it's like explaining the way that I can comprehend these feelings is like fucking batshit to her. Because I, I can't explain them in a way that, I don't know, I guess like normal people would understand. Because innately I don't feel feelings the way that normal people understand.
You don't even. That's an interesting thing. Is that it's not just feelings, because that's the part that I got to stop the stream pretty soon here. But Ninomo, you woke up. But But
Interesting topics.
yeah, but this is the difficulty of it. Say again how you described it at the end right there. You feel what? So I can kind of. You said that you feel when you tell your friend she doesn't understand it, and then you said something toward the end there.
I don't think I can explain my thoughts or feelings the way that
A normal
normal
person
people can.
could describe those thoughts. Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's because like it's doing it. My brain's doing it right now. Okay, so what it's doing right now, I'm trying to describe the process, is that you said that, and then it triggered recollections about other ideas, and then it started connecting to that social and emotional disconnect and disassociation isn't necessarily all that entails the schizoid. It's also because, and I've described this in other instances as well, is the reason I think it's so difficult is that it goes beyond that. Because what you can tell a neurotypical individual is, hey, I don't really emotional connect to people, and for a variety of reasons, and because of that I'm not interested in social situations, which in turn makes me uninterested in making friends and being with like most family members and doing things that normal people do, like and so thus like you know, certain types of things that other people like that are connected to social stuff or emotional stuff uninterest me, right? Okay, fine, right? That part is the part that I think is fairly simple to try to explain to a neurotypical person, right? Would you say that part? Like you can kind of describe it? Okay. The part that's impossible, like it's so fucking hard, is trying to describe the fact that because you didn't grow up with a lot of these factors that shaped your mind and your observations and the manner in which you interpret reality differ so much from the person that did have all those connections, that the fundamental way of that you perceive reality is different than how a neurotypical person does. And the way you perceive it, and the way you interpret it, and the way you analyze it, and the way you study it, and the way you make connections is so different. And that's the part that's so fucking difficult to try to describe to anyone, because it seems alien. It seems completely strange. Let me see here. Those that are... Oh, I didn't read Steven Chagger. Those are the most considered the most insane. The world's insane. Those who are actually sane considered insane. It's ludicrous. Maybe everyone's insane. That's what's funny. Like, there is no sanity. But my point is describing that to somebody. How do you describe that to someone? How do you tell them, oh, I fundamentally perceive reality and observe it in a completely different manner than you do? What does that mean? Well, like, what do you say? What do you fucking tell them? Like, how do you describe that into like words? How can you put that into a paragraph? Like, all I can say is the way I fundamentally perceive things is different than the way you do. Explain to me how. I would have to have like a 2-hour conversation with them.
I'm trying to find something that I could compare it to, but you can't. It's just something that if you get it, you get it. If you don't, then you don't.
It's kind of like this. I'm thinking of if you get it, you get it. Okay, it's kind of like if somebody develops NPD, right? Somebody is a narcissist, right? And because of trauma, because all kinds of stuff, shaped them, and it's genetics, whatever. It shaped them in the direction to develop NPD, right? So because their world becomes so self-centered, so self-focused, so it's all about shaping the self and the interpretation of the self around others, and the way you perceive them and they perceive you, and the way it's like a power dynamic, all this shit, right? All the stuff that comes with NPD and all the issues that come with it. The way that person perceives reality has been altered and shifted based on those parameters. So then there's certain things you can't ask a narcissist to perceive in a certain way, or in a certain neurotypical way, or in a schizoid way even, that is just so fundamentally different. But there are, I feel like with other PDs, there's still a lot of commonalities between, say, the narcissist, the BPD, even an avoidant. There's still certain commonalities that exist between the neurotypical person and that neurodiverse person, right? And those commonalities are a narcissist can still develop emotional connections to things. They're just usually associated to the self in some complex way. They could still develop social connections, but they're associated to specific motivators, right? That are different than a neurotypical person. Okay? So it's about interpretation. It's not about how they process it necessarily. But the schizoid or the schizotypical or typal or the schizophrenic oftentimes too, it's about how the process itself. It's not so much about the interpretation oftentimes. The process itself is completely different because, especially with the schizoid, because you don't have specific aspects of the human experience that you're partaking in a normal function, a normal functional, quote unquote, way that, you know, was kind of set forward by stuff like evolutionary psychology. So then you end up with like what feels like, I'm not saying this is what it is, but what feels like a non-human mind inside of a human body. And that's heavy. That's some heavy shit. That's some existential shit.
Like an advanced AI, but they accidentally broke the emotional chip.
Or something. Like it broke. Like, yeah, think about it this way. Like the emotional chip broke, which in turn derailed the social chip functions, but it's still like an AI that's super learning and advanced developing. And so by the time years and years of development go by, the paths it took are completely different than the paths that the AI with the functioning emotional chip and the functioning social chips or whatever, like, were there. And so it's not necessarily worse. It's just a completely different set of stats and parameters that it developed based on the situation. So it's kind of crazy, man. And my point is there has to be a way of weaponizing this. Not like a literal weapon, but using this. And I think schizoids and a lot of cluster A's can be used for specific functions. And specific types of understandings about reality in certain disconnected ways that can be useful to science, that can be useful to philosophy. Not superior necessarily, but useful and important. So, yeah. And they could add to the human experience as a whole. All right, I'm going to read these last couple of chats because I got to get some stuff done. I think most people are incapable of describing the way they experience the world, and the only reason most people seem to get each other is because they have the same experience or similar experiences, right? But when you're a person that doesn't have similar experiences, then how do you find that reassurance that you're amongst your kind, humans? Internet kindness. Yeah, I gave up trying to understand how narcs even think. I don't give up understanding on any of that stuff. I think it's all interesting. Though I wouldn't particularly be interested in like going to find narc friends. That's the last thing a schizoid needs. Watch HG Tutor. He's pretty good at explaining narcissism. Oh, I've seen some of that stuff. Myeloid, thanks. Internet kindness, thanks. That's the first narc channel I discovered onto the same Vatican. Oh, okay. Twin Flames vid was interesting. Okay. Anyway, guys, quick chill. Please, if you like the conversations I'm having, if you like the crazy shit I'm talking about, if you enjoy my weird thinking, even if you don't relate to it, if you enjoy me interacting with Ninomo, if you enjoy seeing Gabriel log into my live stream and never actually say anything, if you enjoy any of those things, give me your fucking money, because I want to keep doing this and I want to keep sharing my strange brain and thoughts with you. Just like I want to learn more from your strange brain and thoughts, and we can take over the world over time, or at least our ideas could, right? Even if we can't, our ideas could, given it time. Let us make our ideas immortals. if we ourselves are to dissipate. But in any case, yeah, Patreon, live stream. I mean, there's Streamlabs, I think, but Patreon, PayPal's on there, Bitcoin's on the About Me section. Just go to the About Me. It'll also, if you're interested in getting on the live stream and talking to me and just going back and forth, because I'm open to all kinds of discussions. If you do the $5 tier, I think for the Patreon, you'll actually gain access to being able to jump on the live stream, like, and it's just funny because it's Schizoid, so most people aren't really taking advantage of that, or they're busy, whatever, it doesn't matter. But point is, you could. It's a possibility of something you can do, and there's a special section in the Discord in which you can kind of communicate things a little more. Like you can make suggestions to me about videos I should do, conversations I should have. You could suggest people I should talk to or attempt to talk to, and things like that. So if you're interested in any of that sort of stuff, please donate to me, support the project, support what I'm trying to do here. Because apparently this is all this is all my brain is good at doing, is whatever it is I'm doing with you guys. It can't seem to function for all sorts of normal shit. So, all right, later guys, appreciate the time.